Hi, Matt. It's good to chat with you today. It's awesome. You do a
Yeah.
lot on sales and prospecting. So tell me what you're doing as an account executive for IBM right now.
Yeah. So, well, first off, Nicole, thank you for having me on your channel. Been a follower of yours for the past, I think, month or two. So, big fan of your YouTube channel. And thank you so much for having me on. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, I've been with IBM almost 2 years. So, I got the job
Mhm.
2 years ago. I'm an enterprise account executive. I sell a product called Mass 360. It's a cybersecurity product out in the West territory. So, I have California. Let's see if I can remember this: California, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, Hawaii, and Alaska. So I sell to every company in those states. It's a product that helps manage and secure mobile devices. Been doing that for the past 2 years, and it's definitely by far the best job I've ever had.
That's
And then
awesome.
as we met through YouTube. And then on the side, I have a YouTube channel focused on sales, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years, and really have been taking it seriously for the past 6 to 8 months. So that's a lot of fun. It keeps me up to date on all the new tactics with prospecting and closing and running discovery calls, all that good stuff. And sometimes the videos I put out help somebody else. So
That's
that's the
great.
whole reason we do it. Yep.
That's great. So would you say like tech sales is a lot different than just other B2B selling, or is it pretty much the same thing?
I would say it's not. And I'm glad that's a great question, because I actually wanted to make a video about this on my YouTube channel. I think it's ridiculous that there's this barrier to entry to get a tech sales job when the principles apply to going door to door for solar sales or selling for commercial real estate, which is B2B. Those
Mhm.
same principles apply into tech. And there's this conception that if you haven't been in tech yet, it's going to be impossible to get a job in tech, which is absolutely ridiculous. But no, Nicole, I think the principles are exactly the same across whatever sales job, whether it's B2B or B2C. Obviously, there's nuances and there's differences between the two. And there's some differences selling tech. But at the end of the day, the foundational pieces to be a professional salesperson ride true whether you're selling tech or a different product or service.
Perfect, perfect. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I know on your channel you speak a lot about closing, like different
Yes.
tactics. I know I watched a recent video on the assumptive close. That was really, really good. I like that. What would you say is the best way to, teach new reps getting in the door? What do you see them doing wrong
When it comes to closing,
when it comes to closing?
yeah, I would say and I think I made a video about this last week or 2 weeks ago. I think the biggest mistake new reps make and amateur sales reps make, and I made this mistake early on in my sales career because I didn't know any better and I wasn't getting coached up, is they focus on the wrong prospects and they think that their product and service is the right fit for everybody when it's not. So they're going to spend time in a discovery call, running a demo, running a proof of concept, when that prospect probably isn't a good fit and they're probably not going to sign at the end of the day. So I think the faster you could get qualifying, everyone talks about the importance of qualifying, but also disqualifying to make sure you're spending time with people who actually were going to have the propensity to buy your product because it is a fit, there's a need, and it solves a problem. So the biggest mistake that I think most salespeople make, and it probably is most salespeople, is they try to fit their product and service into every prospect, and that's not the case at all.
So you
So if you
really
can
have
sell
to know you really need to know who your decision makers are, who the right decision makers are.
that too. You need to know, yeah, exactly. You need to know who you're speaking with. You need to know if they have the ability to sign. And I did a video about this a couple weeks ago. 100 employees to 500 employees now, there's 7 people on average involved in that decision. And that only goes higher the bigger companies you work with. So if it's an enterprise deal with $1 million, you're probably going to have a 20-person decision-making committee, right? So that's another piece of the puzzle. But number one, it's only sell to people you can actually sell and close. Don't waste time on prospects who are never going to buy because they don't have a problem your product or service can solve.
And
That's
some people, and this took me a while to learn too, like it's all about, when you're talking about prospecting and getting in the door and getting those meetings, I've seen it happen over and over again where people will accept meetings and they have no intention to do anything, but they'll accept a meeting with you. Have you found that too?
I have. I have found that in the past. And there's not much you could do about that one. So if you
Right.
show up to a meeting, right, and they accepted a meeting, I don't know if it was an SDR who set it up or it came in via marketing and they accepted the meeting, maybe they're just looking to do a price check on your product or service. You need to make sure you're doing proper discovery to sniff that out and make sure once you sniff it out, end that conversation, end that call, so you're not wasting your time and you can move on and talk to somebody who is a legit prospect who has a legit problem that you could solve.
Yeah, it's frustrating for anyone entering into sales because it's like, well, they accepted a meeting. I got in the door, I got a meeting, but what kind of meeting is it? Who's it with the right person? Do they have a need? Like all these
Yes.
things, right?
Yes.
So are you, I know you are. I'm asking you this, but I know you are. You're an avid believer in cold calling.
Yes. I am an avid believer. So I have been cold calling for 5 years now. And when I first
Mhm.
started cold calling, I'm sure it was the same thing with you, Nicole. It was terrifying. I remember the
Mhm.
first cold call I made. I was an intern at this equipment finance company. It was my first day. Within 5 minutes, my boss had me making cold calls. My hand was shaking. I was so nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. And it took me probably 18 months to figure out exactly what the heck I was doing on the phone. So I
Right.
know a lot of people that watch my videos, a lot of people that watch your videos, they're maybe in college or they're just starting out, just getting into sales, just making their first cold calls. They're nervous, they're scared, they're frustrated. Just know over time, if you put in the work will take care of you, but this is frequency of dials.
Hmm.
So you got to make the dials, you got to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work, do a ton of A/B testing, and you got to practice every single day and role play. So I think cold calling and all of sales, but cold calling in particular is a lot like sports. So I don't think that, LeBron James, I'm a huge basketball fan. I don't think that LeBron James, I think he's playing tonight. I forget who he's playing. I don't think he's showing up to the stadium. The game's at 7 and he's rolling in at 6:45, getting dressed and walking on the court without having warmed up. So the biggest mistake that I think most salespeople make when it comes to cold calling is they warm up on their prospects. And you and I both know cold calls are tough. You don't get a lot of chances to connect with people on the phone. So when you do, you got to make the most of that time and you will if you practice.
Yeah, totally, totally. And so I just want to end off by asking you, like, where do you see the future of prospecting? I know we talked about this prior to starting out. I'm curious.
Yeah, so I think, and I know Gary Vee says this all the time. I think that at the end of the day, sales is bad marketing. So what he means by that is the best salespeople are the best marketers. And I'm 29 and I'm a millennial. And whenever I'm about to buy a new product, whether it's sneakers, a new TV, whatever it is, I'm always doing research on social media. I'm watching YouTube videos. That's how millennials and Gen Zers make buying decisions. They're not as receptive to a cold call or a cold email. So I think that cold calling and cold emailing, it's still relevant. It's never going to go away. It's only going to get harder the more that millennials and Gen Zers get into those decision-making committees, because that's not how they buy. And there's this book called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And
Hmm.
my biggest piece of advice for most salespeople would be read that book and take those concepts, create content based on those concepts. Maybe have a blog if you're a good writer. If you're good with video, do a YouTube channel, but start posting content that answers the questions that your prospects have about your product so you become a reliable resource.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's how decisions will be made. It's not going to be a cold call isn't really going to work. A cold email is not necessarily going to work in 5, 7 years, but content will. So keep making the calls. I make calls every day. Keep making the calls, keep sending the cold emails because they're always going to be a part of the process. But if you're not exercising your marketing muscle every day, you're going to get left behind. And the best
Yeah.
sellers in 5-7 years will be the best marketers. That's what I think. And I
Oh,
could be dead wrong. This is a hypothesis, right? So I could
yeah,
be.
no, I hear you. I think there's going to be that it's no longer going to be a cold call. It might be turned into a follow-up call or a warm call or a
Yep.
touching base call, but you still
Yep.
have to call, right? You still got to
Yeah.
do.
No. You still have to call. I mean, there's thousands of companies hiring SDRs right now looking for people who are gonna pick this up. And if you get good at this, if you get good at picking the phone up and having a conversation and getting meetings, that's the hardest part of the entire sales process. The rest is pretty easy. So if you get good at it as an SDR, you're going to be really good as an AE when you're doing a discovery conversation, leading a demo, leading a proof of concept. But mentally speaking, cold calling in the SDR position is the hardest job across all sales roles. It's not even close. But yeah, cold call, you got
Not
to cold call,
easy.
got to cold email. That's not going anywhere.
Right, right. Well, look, I really appreciate your time today. And what's the best place for people to reach you?
My YouTube. So if you just type in Matt McNamara, I actually have 2 YouTubes. So this goes back to my little piece before. I have one YouTube that's focused on the product I sell, Mass 360. And the other one we already talked about is the sales channel. So go check it out. I post every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. They're pretty short videos, between 2 and 10 minutes, actionable tips that folks can use at work to either book meetings or get better closing.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.